Hey, I'm Holly Andrews and welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to chat with you a little bit about a part of my story that is quite actually important to me because it's related to my daughter, and share with you some of the things that we've walked through over the last 5 years and some of the things that we have learned. In 2019, she was diagnosed with celiac disease after a very long, and honestly, I believe, lifelong battle with it that caused a lot of GI issues from the time that she was tiny that went unexplained. We didn't know what was going on. And so I want to share with you kind of how we got to the point where she was diagnosed, and then what we've learned in the last 5 years, and especially some of the things that I have learned in the last 6 months even. Her blood work came back higher than we expected it to last year, and so I started searching for what had caused that blood work to go up, and I uncovered a host of things that had caused her numbers to go up. And they were really from unexpected places, things that no one had ever mentioned to us that could cause gluten issues or hidden gluten items, or, things to really watch out for. So her story starts back, honestly, again, like I said, when she was tiny. She started having all kinds of GI issues. She was put on Miralax numerous times for chronic constipation, and we were told it's probably a dairy intolerance, just take her off dairy. So we tried that, no results. And it was just this ongoing battle with her system until late 2018, really December of 2018, she wound up with 4 back-to-back UTIs that eventually led to a kidney infection in early January of 2019 that put her in the hospital for several days until they could get that under control. That was caused by the chronic constipation, as we learned later. But that hospital visit started us down the road of pediatric GI visits, pediatric urology visits, and we eventually, realized that she had celiac disease. They tested her blood and her markers came back high for celiac, and that led to an endoscopy in May of that year. And that actually came back inconclusive, to be honest, but they said, try a gluten-free diet for 6 months, see what happens. We'll take a look at her blood work, or we can rescope her. And that scope was kind of a horrific experience for her and us, to be honest. So we chose to go gluten-free and do her blood work again at the end of 2019. And that blood work showed significantly reduced numbers with her tests in the normal range. And so at that point, they went ahead and officially diagnosed her as celiac. So we went on this journey to remove gluten from her diet, and that went fairly well, right? I'm very thankful that we live in a day and age where there are a lot of gluten-free options out there, much more than there were 10 years ago. There's a lot of options available, and I'm very grateful for that. It took some adjustment, obviously, in some of our cooking. I eat pretty gluten-free myself, just naturally, but we chose not to go gluten-free as a family. So there was still some gluten in the house for my son and my husband, but we were very careful to kind of manage that cross-contamination. Chose to go, eat places out where she could have gluten-free meals, and we felt safe with their protocols. But we moved in 2022 to a different state, and when we had her blood work done last year in 2023, her numbers came back high. And I was really, really shocked at this. And I started to think about where is this coming from? And I think it was a number of places, but I learned so much through that process. So I learned even more how to read labels. I already knew how to read labels, but some things that I didn't know. I didn't know that when companies put natural flavors or other things like that in their ingredients. If that product is not actually labeled gluten-free, then those natural flavors could come from a gluten source that they don't have to disclose because it's proprietary information. I also learned things that I would have considered naturally gluten-free, like cheese. If you buy shredded cheese or honestly block cheese from the store, you have to be very careful about making sure that it is actually marked gluten-free, because the anti-caking agents that they use, certain companies use in their shredded cheese in particular, could contain gluten. So all of these things I started uncovering. I started uncovering things like realizing that our toaster oven was potentially a cause of cross-contamination, even though we were very careful to line any trays with aluminum foil, clean the pans, but we chose to go ahead and buy a second toaster oven that is labeled now gluten-free because of the risk of cross-contamination there. And so I started uncovering all of these things, and I thought, well, if I'm 5 years into this journey with celiac disease with our daughter, and I'm just learning that, then there probably are, a whole host of options that and things that people don't know, and there's always new research. So I chose to sit down and put together all of these things that I was learning into one resource. I did hours of research on different websites, pulling information from here, there, and everywhere to kind of compile all of the things that I thought were necessary for people to know, because it's not just us, right? Like, our daughter does not just live here at our house. She spends time with her grandparents. She goes over to friends. So how do I keep her safe while she's not under our control? And I thought, well, if I'm going to be pulling all of this together for our own family and friends, why not just create a resource that I can share with anybody who may be brand new to celiac disease, or again, there's always new research. So I actually put together this, what I call practical guide to celiac disease for you, your friends, and family. And if you go to my website, which is linked below in the description, it has information on how to read labels, including a flow chart, but also could be hidden gluten sources, things that we don't think about, things that may have gluten in them unless they're specifically labeled gluten-free. So you can get that flow chart straight from my website. It's also in the guide. But the guide also has things that are surprising, like lists of hidden gluten items, like the cheese that I mentioned, but also some other things in it. It also has ways to help avoid cross-contamination. The real only way you're going to avoid cross-contamination is if you have a completely gluten-free home, or you go to a completely gluten-free restaurant, right? But there are things that you can do to help prevent and avoid cross-contamination that I have listed out here in the guide. And then also dining out. Dining out can be super scary when you have celiac disease, because it's not enough to just get gluten-friendly food, right? If the kitchens that are preparing that gluten-friendly food don't have safe protocols, then the risk of cross-contamination is just too high, especially for celiacs. So I have some dining out resources, things that we look for, apps that we use, all of that compiled in one place. So if you are new to celiac disease, or you've been at this for a long time and are maybe surprised by some of the things I've discussed, I would love for you to check out the celiac guide and see if that is something that would be beneficial to you and your family. I have it on sale right now through the end of March. So if that's something that's interested to you or your friends and family, like, you can download it once and share it with anybody that you want to. I've given several copies away already to our friends and family, especially people that my daughter spends time with, so that they have this knowledge as well when she is with them and outside of our immediate, control and protection, so that they can help us keep her safe. So go check it out. I hope it's beneficial. If you are celiac or know someone who's celiac, please share this with them. And I really believe that the more we know, the more that we can be empowered to make really good choices to keep ourselves and our kiddos and our friends and family safe. So thank you for watching. Until next time, have a great week.